I was born into a family of lack. No this, no that, no money, no kerosene to put in the lantern. You could be given a cube of sugar to match a calabash full of cocoa. So you had to adopt a means to still get the sweetness from the sugar. So you drink substantial portion of the cocoa and then you scrap your tongue with the sugar so that at least you get the sweetness. That's the kind of family we were born into. I'm fourth, my mother's line. Fifth, my father's line. We started double track many years before this government introduced it. So, and in all, my father had 12 tribes of Israel, 12 disciples of Jesus. And my father was a teacher. In those days, it was said of teachers that they were poor. And being poor, he still would not, be economical. He gave birth to 12. So we had to struggle. Not even one of us knew where we would be going from that house. And I remember before I completed secondary school, and I'm not going to tell you which secondary school, one of my teachers told me some guys met and they were having a good chat. Then it came to a point where they had to tell which schools they attended. Then one said, oh, me, Infanspem, the other Infantsman, Asanteman. Then there was this one who would not say anything. So they said, but you didn't go to school some. He said, oh, me, I went to Ayigwepem. Since everybody is talking about a pim or man, he went to Ayigwepem. Because the school I attended, there was not one, I wasn't taught by graduates, not even one. My teacher of English, and I'm not going to say English teacher, because at Cape Coast I was told that there were no English teachers. If you said English teachers, you meant that the teachers were English. And these are blacks, who were not English. So teachers of English. My teacher of English was a sixth form graduate. He never could make it to the university. The rest were all non-graduates. But I managed to come to the University of Cape Coast to read a first degree in English. My teacher's status notwithstanding. Hope for life. It is not about how much you have, but what you make with the little that you have. Not really about where you come from, but where you're going. Not really about who you are, but who you will be. That is what matters. Hope for life. At age 4, I was weaned from my mother. Because the story is told of me that I was stubborn. So they took me to my father, who had opened another branch in another town where he lived with his second wife. So at least there were 2 branches, the headquarters and then the subsidiary. And in those days it was punishment if you were sent to your mother's rival. Because they will vent their spleen and anger on you. So, maternal, motherly care, pampering, I never had it. It least matters whether you have it or not. If you have it, bless you. If you don't have it, it doesn't really matter. So I live with them. My father, the only times you would hear him call you is when he is asking you to do one thing or the other for him. No pampering, no motivation, no guidance, no nothing. It was spanking, sometimes slapping, sometimes beating. And when it came to beating, it did not really matter which weapon. It could be belt, double slap, some cane or stick that line somewhere. That was how I grew up. Then later I was to be sent to our hometown where we lived in the family house. We call it compound house. I think ours was a 30-seater or 40-seater house, about 40 people. We had only one pan latrine. I don't know if you know pan latrine. The type of toilet that you use, the bucket. And then we only had one bathroom. The bathroom was in front, so if somebody was there bathing, it meant that no matter what was pressing you, you would have to wait till they have finished. Or if perchance you are in the toilet and then somebody came to wash down, it meant that you have to wait. And we least even had the opportunity to go there because it was always locked. And when it was locked, you had to walk. My house to the public latrine was about a kilometer away. So you had to run. By the time you get there, people were queuing outside. And because of the conditions people were in, nobody would speak to, the other. You would have to wait and wait and wait till, that's the kind of house, the kind of home. I never had the benefit of going to the boarding house like some of you. Because when I told my dad that I wanted to go to the boarding house, he said, if you have money, go. So some of my friends said, oh, you come. You will be half boarder. And half boarder meant that during dining, I will not go some. I will wait. Then those who were true boarders will go, bring food, and then we share. And then we get out of school. I'm not going to tell you to do that, but that was how we had to survive. We go to town from this person's house to the other. We eat. By the time we come, it's about 8:30. So you can't do any effective prep. So we sat for the O-level. Those days it was O-level. And that year, the results were cancelled across all the schools. And we were given only 2 weeks to resit. And I said, me, I won't write again. My bre. But I had no choice, because if my father heard that I did not write, I would be dead gone. So I had to reluctantly go sit and write. I wrote the O-level, the results were released, and my results were fantastic. 99, 77, 88, those things. Fantastic results. Among the lots, we were the best. I never could see my results until my father's nephew paid my outstanding school fees, because I was owing in fees. So he asked me, but they say the results have come. Oh, why? You won't go and check it. I said, how can I check the results when I'm owing? He said, this your father, pa. How much? He gave me money. I went, checked. I went round looking for school. I never had one. Then my sister told me that, there is post-secondary. I said, that one too, what is it? Because I didn't even know. from secondary school where you'll be going, I didn't know. I did commerce, I did agric science, I did history, I did French. So standing here, I don't know whether I did science or business or arts. I went to school, secondary school. So I said, I'll go. Post-sec, yes, I will. Anywhere, once is a step ahead. And there are times in your life when you have to take a certain step. You may not necessarily like it, but that may open some door for you. All your friends may be going to a particular direction. But if that is all that you can have, if that is all that you can access, make do of it, because that may be a great opening for you. Hope for life. So I went to the training college, Wesley College, Kumasi. I never liked the place. Sometimes I would steal myself from the classroom, go and sleep in the dormitory. I didn't like what they were doing in that school. Until one day I asked myself, I said, Abba, you don't have anywhere to go. Sometimes you may not have anywhere to go, but where you are now, make the best of it. Maybe you wanted some other school. You didn't get where you are. Make the best of it, because there is hope for life. So I reluctantly went through, completed successfully. Somebody was giving a speech and wanted to say successfully, and his tongue twisted and said sexfully. So I completed not sexfully but successfully. I was 22 years then. Then I realized that the home where I was born and bred would not have so much for me, so I would leave. So I left my parents at age 22 to start life. I was teaching. The first day I had my own accommodation because I lived with my cousin. Then I managed to get accommodation. I didn't have 10. So I slept on a pair of trousers because I didn't have a mattress. And then a t-shirt that had the inscription, "Run for Education." When I got up in the morning, I looked at the t-shirt again and I said, "Run for education. What does it mean?" That thought to run for education dawned on me. When Doc was speaking, there was this theme that ran through her speech. Education can break the bonds, the bondage of poverty. So immediately I said, let me go back to school. So whenever I am paid, I will set aside a portion, either to buy a book, register for exam, go for classes. At the same time, I was working. And there was little for me to buy clothes. I had few clothes, never had a TV, no refrigerator, no nkonya in my room. I had a stove, the one they use coil. Sometimes the coil will break. The rice is not well cooked. No money to buy extra rice. So I eat the under because the under will be well cooked and then the top will be there. Then I will sleep. I made sure that I had very few friends so I could study. When friends were watching TV, I would be reading. I sat for the A level, and by the grace of God, I passed. And then I came to University of Cape Coast. I read English at the University of Cape Coast. So in my family, I was the second person who managed of the 12 to go to university. Then, from UCC, I remember the day that we had the congregation, when I wore the gown, and then this thing that we wear that I have forgotten the name, the cap. I heard a voice tell me that, go back to school. This is not enough. And I'm going to look you in the face and tell you that when you have left this place, go back to school. For this is not enough. There is hope in education. One of the courses I read at the University of Cape Coast was Caribbean literature. I will recommend to you the book authored by Frederick Douglass, a slave boy who broke slavery by going to school. You can break the poverty in your family through education. And I will tell you how and why. From Cape Coast, I went back to Kumasi to teach. It was during the time that I was teaching that a friend of mine came to me and said, can't you do radio? I mean, that's how they say it. I said, I can do it too. But I have applied to radio stations and media houses. One of them, when I went, they told me that you are not the type of person we are looking for. And I'm going to tell you that some of you are going to hear stories of this nature, but there is still hope. So when I had gone and been disappointed, rejected, denied, finally, this gentleman who said he could assist me, he indeed assisted me, and I got my first radio job. The day I went for the interview, I was told to start as a newscaster. I had never seen a studio in my life. I had never seen people, apart from the TV, cast news. No training was given, but they said I should go and do it. So I said, oh boss, why don't you let me go and then come next time? Then he said, okay, that's fine. Then when I was leaving, there was this lady who came to me and said, brah, this man who has given you this opportunity, if you don't take it today, that will be the end. You won't come here again. There are some opportunities, if you don't take them, that may be your end. Seize opportunities. Gather courage. There is hope in life. So I said, that's fantastic. So I went back. Then I got into the studio. They gave me the scripts. I was supposed to read with one of their regular newscasters. She knew how to do it so excellently and well. And I didn't know 10. She told me that I was the one who was going to start. How do I start? Where do I start from? What should I first say? I said, but they've brought you. So I started anyway, and I realized that I was shaking, quaking. They call it paper rustle. The paper was making noise. At a point, I was making mistakes. I heard myself say, oh, Jesus, help me. In the news. My boss told me that they were not going to pay me because I had come to learn. I'm going to tell some of you that your first job may not earn you any salary, whether in the form of sufficient salary or stipend, like is it NACOB or NAPCO? The NAPCO one. Yes. They are even fortunate. They are being paid. Me, my boss told me you will not be paid. and I still had to work. Sometimes I had to abandon dinner in order to go and cast news. I come back in the evening without food. I struggled. I have done media for 18 years. Media has done me well. There is hope for life. It was through media that I did my first travel outside Ghana. It was a great experience. Somewhere along the line, I felt I should quit teaching. I like teaching. I still teach anyway. But for some reasons, I felt I should quit. Around the time I left teaching, it became necessary for me, who attended a school whose name I am very much ashamed to mention here. Afraid. You can see me in chambers. I will tell you. But here openly, I will not tell you. I had the guts to apply to read law. First person in my family. It doesn't matter from which family you came. You could be the first president from that family, first person to work at the World Bank in that family, the first media personality, first somebody, first lady, second first lady, first whatever you can be. Because there is hope in life. If you are waiting for somebody to guide you, to encourage you, you may not get it. You may be in my situation, but I keep encouraging myself. I dream big. Doc said we should dream big. So I dream big. I travel sometimes to places that I have not been. I want to explore the world. Like Christopher Columbus and Don Diego da Zambuja, those people, they got up and traveled. In 2006, I went to China. In front of most of their public buildings, you would see the sculpture or a statue of the lion with the globe under its claws. In those days, when we asked them, they told us that the sleeping giant was rising and that China was going to take over the world. That was in 2006. Is China not taking over the world now? They are taking over the world. They are even taking over fufu. The last time I saw a Chinese driving fufu, they will take over fufu. So I'm looking at you this afternoon. I'm wrapping up. Be like the Chinese and say to yourself that from here you are going to take over the world. Your world. Tell yourself this. There will be twists and turns, but I can still take over the world because there is hope in life. Thank you so very much.